This video was inspired by Dom's Diary's video, Firewatch, Escapism disguised as a game. I'll leave his video down in the description below. Oh, and I really recommend playing both of these games before watching the video. Seriously, one of the best short story games out there. Escapism is a doctrine where a person routinely uses an activity or behavior to escape life's realities. Firewatch and Road 96 are games that display two similar yet very different sides of this philosophy. One being a literal escape of a totalitarian nation and not being able to handle its oppression, while the second being a metaphorical escape of life's daily responsibilities. In this video, we will be diving deep into these games' similar messages, their differences, and attempting to explain the different sides of escapism they display. Firstly, what are these games even about? We'll start with Firewatch. In Firewatch, you follow the protagonist Henry, a man who in an attempt to escape the responsibility of taking care of his extremely sick wife Julia, becomes a fire lookout the following summer. He and his boss Delilah uncover disturbing facts about the forest, like someone keeping track of their chat logs, or even finding a dead child buried in a cave. The game ends bittersweet with the culprit being found and Delilah leaving in a helicopter before you even got the chance to meet her. The last shot ends with you taking one final look at the place you've spent the whole summer. Road 96 is a straightforward yet complex game. You play as various different teenagers being on the road to escape the totalitarian nation you currently reside in. You have the choice to either inspire people to revolt, to vote, or to simply do nothing and accept their fate. Because of that, the game has multiple endings, but all of them are more or less the same and merely have an influence on who dies. On the road, you will meet various different people, all with different perspectives. It is up to you to decide on who you wish to side with. Now that we got the introductions out of the way, let's start digging deeper. While I was explaining what these games were about, you might have noticed that the only commonality between them is that you're escaping something. Nothing else is similar about them. And that's exactly how these games complement one another. They explain the same problem, but from two different perspectives. To put it short, Firewatch explores the psychological side of escapism and the consequences of it, while Road 96 explains literal escapism and how you get to that point.
Maybe I'll go visit, I don't know.
Well, why not?
She's with her family in Melbourne. They're not big fans of mine.
Oh.
Her sister, Susan, is great, but her parents, I think they always thought she could do better, and that I could have done a better job looking after her.
Fuck that. I have no doubt you did your best.
I don't know.
If you want to go visit her, you should go. Don't let a couple of assholes keep you away from someone you love.
I'll think about it.
The first time I played Firewatch, I expected for it to be a nice walking simulator with a short but sweet story and breathtaking scenery. And I was right about two of those things. However, the story to me at first felt very disjointed, let's say. I mean, one moment you're scolding a couple teenagers for littering in the forest, and the next you learn that the local forest boogeyman is stalking your conversations, breaking your stuff, and spying on you with high-end technology. Not to mention the ending absolutely destroyed me for a couple days to a point where I even cursed myself for playing the game. It's only after I calmed down and started looking into the story deeper where things started to make sense. So here's everything I learned that absolutely perfected this game's message. You are not in control. In many story games, you have the power to alter the ending or make changes through your decisions. Firewatch is not one of them. I'd go as far to say you're barely even a factor here, because while there are dialogue options from start to the end of the game, they have no effect other than maybe changing the name of an event or an animal. The game has one legitimate ending and one legitimate protagonist. You are alone. Sure, you have your dialogues with Delilah, sure you might even see a couple shadowy figures in the distance, but you never actually interact with any humans. Your walkie-talkie with Delilah remains as your lifeline to the outside world. And at the end of the game, where you expect to finally meet with the person you spent talking to the whole summer, she is no longer there. You are not at risk. Even though the game is set in the wilderness, where bears and all sorts of other predators should be roaming, not only does the game not have any of them, but it's also impossible to die. Not even the man that is spying and hunting you can kill you, which might give a little bit of peace, but the eeriness of some moments doesn't make it any better. And lastly, when you start the game, you have already escaped. The point of the game is to slowly realize your mistake and come back to reality and face life head on.
I've been kept inside so long, I've lost sight of right and wrong. When you left an open door, I couldn't help but explore.
Now, when it comes to explaining literal escapism found on Road 96, we can go ahead and try to find individual attributes that perfect this game's message. Or, we could do something more bold. Now, this is going to be the main reason why I made this video, because if we take each and every single aspect that made Firewatch so great, flip it the opposite way, and it will perfectly explain how Road 96 was able to perfect its message. Take a look. Firstly, you are in control. Remember how we said in Firewatch your decisions have basically no power over the story being told? Well, that's not the case here, because you have the ability to completely change this game's ending by various different decisions that you make on the road, whether that would be inspiring more people to revolt, by inspiring people to vote for a peaceful resolution, or just not doing anything and letting the problems fix by themselves. Another thing to mention here is that there are multiple protagonists, because each time you escape, get arrested or die, you play as a different character. Secondly, you are not alone. While in Firewatch, the game likes to emphasize of how lonely you actually are, especially in the free roam where you can't even talk to Delilah, Road 96 takes the opposite approach by introducing you to many different faces on your journey. Sounds way better, right? Well, there's a catch. You see, remember when I said you play as a different character every time you escape, die, or get arrested? Well, that's the thing. Even though you will meet all these characters several different times, they will only ever meet you once until you come back as a different character. So even though you will remember them, they won't remember you. And your relationship with those characters will restart over and over and over again until you complete the game. Thirdly, you are at risk. Unlike in Firewatch, when you have no sense of danger, Road 96 operates differently. If you run out of food, you collapse and get arrested. If you pick the wrong dialogue option, you can get shot. If you make a mistake while escaping, you get arrested. And if you just simply have bad luck, you get arrested. The game doesn't take it easy on you. Every hitchhike you take may as well be your last. And lastly, when you start the game, you are trapped behind the walls of your own nation, and your goal is to risk your whole life to escape. These two games were made in completely different years, by completely different developers, and have completely different plots. Characters, gameplay, music, graphics, everything to suggest that they have no correlation with one another. And yet, they're just two sides of the same coin. I just found this very fascinating, how these two different games can explain a common issue from two different perspectives. Well, it's been a while, folks, hasn't it? This video took way longer than expected, and it sums up the future atmosphere of my channel pretty well. There's actually one more thing to mention though. About a month ago, me and some of my YouTube friends created a new group channel called The Cooked Cast. Make sure to check it out. I'll leave the channel link in the description below. That's all. Love you all. See ya.